For our talk today, please welcome here His Grace Siksastakam Prabhu with a big Haribol. He's great. Many of you know him. He came to contact with Krishna consciousness around 2017, and then he also came to this temple and did the Bhakta course, and later decided to become a monk. So he was started then to live here in this temple. Also did his studies in studies of religion, and very soon he discovered that he liked to share this Krishna consciousness wisdom and philosophy with many people. So I think some of you might have met him on the streets. There he is very eagerly distributing the books of Srila Prabhupada on the streets and trying to reach all the people of Switzerland. But not only in Switzerland, he also in other countries like England, Sweden, America, he has been active. And recently he also has decided to also serve his spiritual master, His Holiness Shivaram Maharaj, and also gaining many experience in that way. And for today, he's going to speak on the topic, God's Eye View. So I hope you will have a nice day. Just before we start, please everyone come a little closer. Please come forward to the front. And for a translation, braucht jemand eine deutsche Übersetzung? Ja, 1, 2. Manu, möchtest du die geben? Okay, super. I wish you a very happy Sunday. Hare Krishna.
Please come closer, if you can. Just as close as you can. It's very nice, actually, if we're like a family, you know? Cartels? Krishna? Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. So, first we will sing a little song, which is called Jai Radha Madhava. We had a nice lyric text banner, but I don't know where it's gone. Let's see. But it's a song to deeply meditate about Krishna, his associates, and their loving exchanges. So, if you, here we have it. Maybe we can hang it over there. Here are the lyrics. So you can sing along before we start speaking. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Jaya Yashoda Damodar, Yashoda Damodara, Yashoda Damodara, Shri Radhe. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, the devotees. So we will speak in English. We have Russian translation and German as well? Or no? Okay, good, good. So we will try to speak as slow as possible to make it feasible. But if I'm too fast, then please tell me. So welcome everybody again on behalf of the Krishna Temple in Zurich. Very nice that you came today. And we have a very special month that we just started a few days ago. It's called the Kartik month. And in this month, the devotees of Krishna, the Vaishnavas, they try to remember Krishna and a specific lila. You know which one? Which one is it? Not sure? Damodar, yes. It's a Damodar lila. It's called Damodar lila. So it's a story of Krishna as a child. And this month is very special because it is said that all the activities that are performed in this month, our devotional activities, are trying to advance in spiritual life. They get multiplied manifold. These efforts, they count more than usual, in a sense. And so in this way, we try to really take all what we can out of this month by engaging in Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, they say, in very steadfast and intense devotional service. So the topic of today's class will be on that. And I apologize in advance that maybe for some of you who are not so familiar with Krishna, it might be a little bit difficult to understand. But please also feel free to ask questions, even in the middle, in the end, or even after the class. And we will start by quoting a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the tradition that when we have some topic or some speech, then we refer to Shastra. We have the scriptures as a basis of what we speak. And so this is a text from the Srimad Bhagavatam, one of our very important scriptures. And it's from the 10th canto, 8th chapter, which is called Lord Krishna shows the universal form within his mouth. And there it's text 45. So I'll just read the Sanskrit and then translation and short part of the purport. Traya Chopanishad Bishcha Sankhya Yogaishcha Sattvatai Upagiyamana Mahatmyam Harim Samanyatatmajam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are studied through the three Vedas, the Upanishads, the literature of Sankhya Yoga and other Vaishnav literature. Yet, Mother Yashoda considered that Supreme her ordinary child. And here is the purport. When a human being enters into the study of the Vedas to obtain vidya, knowledge, he begins to take part in human civilization. Then he advances further to study the Upanishads and gain Brahmagyan, impersonal realization of the Absolute Truth. And then he advances still further to Sankhya Yoga in order to understand the Supreme Controller, who is indicated in the Bhagavad Gita. When one understands that Purusha, the Supreme Controller, to be Paramatma, one is engaged in the method of yoga. But Mother Yashoda has surpassed all these stages. She has come to the platform of loving Krishna as her beloved child, and therefore she is accepted to be on the highest stage of spiritual realization. The Absolute Truth is realized in three features, but she is in such ecstasy that she does not care to understand what is Brahman, what is Paramatma, or what is Bhagavan. Bhagavan has personally descended to become her beloved child. Therefore, there is no comparison to Mother Yashoda's good fortune, as declared by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dina Taranam. So, this shall be the basis of today's little talk, and it's a very wonderful topic, and we try to understand what is really going on. Who of you has read the Srimad Bhagavatam? A question our spiritual master always asks. Most or some? So the Srimad Bhagavatam is basically there's three important scriptures, most important scriptures. That is the Bhagavad Gita, which is compared to the introductory level course of spiritual life. Then there's the Srimad Bhagavatam, this book that we're reading from, which speaks about the activities of God, like what does God do. This book is more about the instructions. What does God say about philosophy? What is like the duty that we have to perform? And then there's Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is about this personality that we have on the altar, actually, on the left side, you can see. These two persons. And on the right-hand side of these two, from our perspective, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he is an avatar of Krishna, or an incarnation who came down 500 years ago. And this Chaitanya Charitamrita, it speaks about his pastimes, what happened when he was here. So in this way, he reveals to us the mind of God. So it's very interesting. We hear first the instructions in Bhagavad Gita, then we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam the activities of Krishna, and then we hear about Krishna's mind. Interesting, no? What is God thinking? How does he feel, and what does he really want? What is he looking for? Far out, no? That there's a scripture that describes what is God's mind state like. And so, to really dive into this, first we have to come to this point where we even ask these questions, the important questions in life. I guess all of you who are here, you have, at a certain point, you have asked these questions, because otherwise you would not be here. Which are like, who are we? Or even also, is there something like God? And maybe some of you, they're still undecided. Is there something like God? Is there like a higher power? Or if, then what is it exactly? And there comes a time, as it was once said by a singer, in every man's life there comes a time where he either gets struck by the love of God or by the love of a beautiful woman. Maybe you heard this one. And he was saying, why is it so? Because these are the most profound things that we can experience in this world. Once the love of God and then the love of another person. And basically that's what we're looking for, isn't it? And at that point of time, when we get struck by these intense feelings, then nothing else seems to matter. And it is that love that we are seeking, isn't it? Everybody wants to be happy, I assume. Nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks, okay, today I'm going to break my leg because I need some suffering in my life. No, but still, these things happen, right? And so that's why this world is like a place where somehow we never really find that deepest of love. It's always, or the deepest of happiness. It always seems to be just, maybe just 2 fingers away, let's say. But there's this beautiful saying of C.S. Lewis. He is a psychologist, a Christian. And he once said that if I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can fulfill, then I have to come to the conclusion that I was made for another world. I find it very beautiful because it's very like coming to this point that, yeah, so here it seems that our experiences are such that we never really get that what we want, true happiness, lasting happiness. But still we're looking for that, so there's like a contradiction in terms. If we were made for this thing, this planet and this life we're living, then we should be happy, right? And then why is it that, especially in a place like Switzerland, where we have all the opulences, all the riches and the opportunities, there's so many unhappy people. In fact, the suicide rate amongst below 20 years old is one of the highest in Europe, in such a country where we have everything. So why is that? Well, it's because there must be something deeper in life to really find this happiness. And so that's when we come to this point of seeking knowledge. Srila Prabhupada, he's the one who is sitting here. He's our founder Acharya. He brought all these treasures from India to Switzerland and many other places. In fact, it is the 50th year since he has been here in Switzerland. So 50 years ago, in 1974, he was in Geneva and just close by here as well, in the Hotel Sonnenberg. It was then. So anyway, he translated these books, and here he writes that when a human being enters the study of the Vedas to obtain vidya, knowledge, he begins to take part in human civilization. So basically, he's making this point that only once we start to inquire about these very important questions of who am I, and is there something like God, and what is the purpose of my life, only then are we becoming human beings. Meaning that this is the purpose of human life. Like there's so many living entities, so many species of life, but it is described that only the human being can actually ask these questions because the consciousness is evolved in such a way to really go into these questions. And so also in my case, this time came when I was really asking these questions. I was studying at the University of St. Gallen. Maybe you know, it's like, they call it an elite uni, meaning that people there, they're the best of their fields, especially in economy, and they come from all over the world. But again, it was not really so satisfying. And I started exploring many things. It was a time of trying out so many things, so many philosophies, reading so many books. And then once we did a Vipassana retreat. You know Vipassana? Anybody's done Vipassana before? You did? You also did? I don't know about your experience, but for me it was very tough. Because Vipassana means it's a Buddhist kind of form of meditation. It's usually going for 10 days. For 10 days you do mauna, meaning you don't speak at all. For 10 days you do intense meditation, like 8 hours a day. And the meditation is mainly about a different kind of meditations, but it's more of just observing the mind. So in Buddhism, right, the main goal is What do they want to achieve? Nirvana. And nirvana means, nir means not, and van means like the waves. So they want to get free of the waves of the mind that are coming and going all the time. And why? Because they understand that the mind is the main place of suffering, right? Even if you have a healthy body and you have everything, still the mind will always be wandering about. Like even if you're sitting here, I guess we also have these experiences. We're sitting somewhere, but our mind is somewhere totally else, and we want to do something else, and we think about the past and the future. So there's always some hankering and a sense of unfulfillment. So once you can control the mind, that's the idea, then you will be truly peaceful and happy from that. Yeah, I didn't really experience that, honestly, when I did this meditation. Rather, from the long sitting, 8 hours, my legs were hurting like anything, and back as well and everything. And I thought, yeah, okay, that's all right, a few days, after 3 days, 4 days, that's normal. And the teacher also said, yeah, it will go away, don't worry. And day 5 came, day 6 came, and pain was just increasing. So I really felt like, okay, what am I doing here? But at that time, I was there with Manu Prabhu. We did our whole journey together, basically. And can you imagine, you're in a retreat, a Mauna retreat, where you're not allowed to speak, and you're there with your best friend. So this adds an extra layer of renunciation, of difficulty. Well, you also did it together, I guess. So it is possible. But anyway, we each brought one book, I believe. And I had the Radikale Mittelweg by Atma Tattva Prabhu that Manu read. And he brought this book, the Bhagavad Gita. So even though we could not speak, we were reading a lot. And we both had very intense experiences with the reading. You can imagine, first time I read this book, and those of you who have read it, they know it's like very impactful. And in such a circumstance where there's no other distractions. So at least that was very nice. At the same time, when I first read this book, it was very, very difficult in a sense that Srila Prabhupada, the author, he's very uncompromising. You might have this experience if you read these books of Prabhupada. He's not joking around. He's seeing that Krishna has very clear words, clear instructions, and there's a clear process, and that's what you should do. There is no this and that and this and that, but it's like very clear. And for me, coming from a rather from background of everything goes, everything's okay, spirituality is about having peace and fun and love, I was like very much challenged. And so I read around 200 pages, but then put the book aside. Well, fast forward, I just want to say also Prabhupada, he kind of stated that, Prabhupada also when he was interviewed, he had a very straightforward mood always. He would not play around. So once there was a journalist, and I told this before, some of you might have heard it, there was a journalist, and he came at the airport in Chicago, I believe, and he was running after Prabhupada just when he arrived. And he was kind of out of his breath, catching his breath, and he stuck the microphone in front of Prabhupada's face and said, Swami, how does your religion differ from other Buddhists? And you can imagine Prabhupada, he stopped. He put his cane on the floor and he turned. And he didn't skip a beat. What he said was, so for those who may be not so familiar with our philosophy, we're very far away from Buddhism in many ways, like I just mentioned. So we don't have the goal of nirvana, but the personal relationship with God. So what Prabhupada said was, we have nothing to do with this Buddhism, with this Hinduism. We're just teaching about the truth. And if you are truthful, then you will accept it. Like, bold statement. And he walked on. That was the end of it. But you can see that's the kind of mood that this personality carries, just out of his realization that, all these things that we concoct, these kind of boxes, Hindus and Christians and this and that, it has its use, of course. But on a deeper level, if we just focus on that, we get lost in the externals of things and we miss the essence. So I could feel this mood in the Bhagavad Gita, and I was very much attracted to this rigorous strictness and very clear conception of what the goal of life is. But I could not really enter at that time. So later on, when we came to the temple, a long story how we got here, but that was maybe half a year later, and one devotee gave me the Bhagavad Gita again. And I bought it from him. I read it in like 3 weeks. It was like whoosh, such nectar. And I thought, wow, this is it, you know. And in this way, we acquire vidya by getting in touch with scripture, with the living personalities who live by the scripture. And we advance in our spiritual knowledge. And when you read Bhagavad Gita, the conclusion basically is that Krishna is God, so there is such a thing as God. Not only is it a thing, it's a person, an individual. It's not like a human being like you and me, but at the same time, he still is an individual with with desires, with a personality, with correct character traits. And to get to know him, to connect with him, we perform devotional service. There's many different ways. But in the end, Krishna says, Bhaktya mama abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvata tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tat anantaram. He says that to really understand God, it's only through bhakti, only through loving devotional service. That's how Prabhupada rendered it. So the highest reality is that of love. We come back to this point of finding real love. That's what this Krishna conscious movement is about. To really learn to love, and not only bodies or, you know, some people they love doner kebab, but real, true love in the most substantial meaning. And like I was saying before, there's a different scriptures that deal with these that go further into these truths. So there's the instructions. Okay, Krishna says, okay, only through bhakti can you come to me, can you know me. Then he goes on to explain, because if you want to love somebody, you have to know them, right? You cannot love. It's very limited love. That if you hear about somebody, then you start to get to know this person, then you can love the person. But to just, you know, love some god in the sky, what is it, you know? What to really develop actual love is very difficult. So that's why the scriptures they describe in the Srimad Bhagavatam especially, what are the activities, the characteristics of Krishna and his incarnations. And then, in the CC, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we get to know more about the very internal part, the internal thinking of God. And in Srimad Bhagavatam as well as in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we get to know that the most intimate devotees, the devotees who have the strongest love, are the devotees from Vrindavan. So there's this very sacred place in India, is our most important pilgrimage place, that is called Vrindavan, and it's where Krishna took birth 5,000 years ago. And so this place exists here on earth, but it's basically a replica of the spiritual world. So it's not only a material place, but it's outside of time and space as well, in a spiritual realm. And in this place is where the most intimate loving exchanges between God and his devotees happen. And this is where we come to the Damodar Lila. Like I was saying, we're in this month of Kartik, where we remember the story of Yashoda Damodar. We have them here on the altar as well, by the way. So it's in front. You can see there is this mother figure. Yashoda is her name. And then Damodar, so that's Krishna with the name Damodar. So what this pastime shows us, what we want to remember when we hear this story, this pastime of Krishna with Yashoda, is that God, he wants our love. He is full in everything. He possesses everything. There is nothing in this world that is not moving under his will. And at the same time, there's one thing that we can actually give to him, and that is our attention and our real love, our actual affection to him. And so not only can we do that, but by that love we bind Krishna. In a way, Krishna becomes our servant. God serves his devotee and lets the devotee do with him whatever he wants. And I really find that a very, very special and very inspiring and very beautiful feature, a very beautiful concept of what God can be. And that's also one reason why I really gave myself to this tradition, because not only is it a concept, a theory, but a practical experience that we can make in our day-to-day life. So let's go to this place of Vrindavan and dive a little bit into this pastime, this story of Krishna being bound by Mother Yashoda's love. Who heard the story before? Many. But it's the beginning of Kartik, so I thought, okay, it's one time that we can share it again. Anybody has read this book before? Not so many. So that's good. Then maybe there's something new that can come out from the Damodar Lila. Basically, this is the Damodar Janani is a book, again, on this pastime, on this story. And it brings together many commentaries and realizations of different devotees that have not only heard about the Damodar Lila, but actually experienced it in meditation. So it's very, very special. So in Vrindavan, there's this beautiful palace. Krishna, he grows up in a palace. He is the son of a Kshatriya family, of a royal family. There's Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, his parents. And they're both cowherds, but they're the kings of the cowherds. And so now, at this particular time, it's Deepavali. The big festivities are going on, and it's everybody's going out on that day to prepare for the big Govardhan Puja that is going to happen later on. But Yashoda, she stays back with Krishna. So at that morning, she wakes up, and Krishna is laying beside her in the bed. She gets up, she gets dressed, she puts on the most beautiful garments. There's actually servants that help her with that. And while she's doing that, she is thinking that my Krishna, my little son, he's very naughty. He's always going to steal butter from others, from other gopis, and that cannot continue, you know. If he develops this tendency of being a thief, that will not be good for him, and neither for me nor for anybody here in Vrindavan. So I have to stop it. How can you stop somebody from doing something bad? Well, you have to give him something better. And so she decides, okay, he goes to the others' houses to steal butter and yogurt and milk. That means my produce of milk is not as good as theirs. Otherwise, why would he go? And I know why that is, because I'm not doing it myself, but my servants, they're usually doing the milk preparations. And they're always spaced out. They don't do it properly. Very simple. I have to do it myself. I have to bring my loving devotion into these milk produce. And so, with this thought, she gets up. She's very carefully leaving Krishna there. And she sets up to churn the yogurt. So that's what they do back in the day. They have big pots with yogurt. And they churn it. So there's like a rod in the middle. And then they have ropes to churn. And in this way, by constantly churning, at some point, the yogurt will become butter. And so she's going for that. And in the meantime, Krishna is gradually waking up from his slumber, a long night's rest. And he opens his eyes slightly, seeing what's happening. And he sees Mother Yashoda, she's churning there. And he just gets enchanted. He's like, wow, she's so beautifully doing it with so much devotion. And he can see that she's putting all her love into it and all her efforts. So he's still trying to make her think that he's sleeping so that he can watch on a little longer. And Yashoda, she's very much absorbing in the pastimes of Krishna. So she stands there, she's churning, churning. And she starts singing songs. That's what the Brajavasis do, the inhabitants of Vrindavan. They always think about Krishna, and that's what makes them so special. They're always in this connection with God, because they cannot be without thinking about Him. And she gets absorbed in this story, in this pastime that just happened a few days ago when Krishna again was stealing from somebody else. And then the gopis came to her, the other cowherd ladies, and complained that Krishna has been stealing again. And she says, no, impossible. And Krishna is also there, and he's like trying to play it cool, although he knows he has done big mistakes by doing that. But also, he's just really, really enjoying these exchanges. And Mother Yashoda, she's meditating on this, and she's also laughing about her son, at the same time trying to make sure that he will never steal again. At least she tells that to the gopis, it will never happen again. And in this way she meditates, and Krishna, who is on the bed, he doesn't know what's happening to him. He's getting drawn into the meditation. So Yashoda's meditation is so strong, she's so much absorbed, that Krishna, even though sitting on the bed still, he's not sure anymore. Is he down there in the front of the house with the gopis and Yashoda and seeing the story again, or is he sitting in the bed? And this is the power of the meditation of pure devotees. Krishna gets drawn, and they really experience Krishna very lively. It's not like, you think about somebody, but it's actually happening in front of you. So in this way, Krishna is kind of unsure what's happening. But then at some point, he's like, he cannot tolerate it anymore. He gets up and he wants to embrace his mother. He cannot stay separate anymore. So he gets up from bed and he's crying because he is hangry. He is really hungry, and because of that, he's very angry. Because he can see that Mother Yashoda, she is churning the butter, but she should actually feed him milk. That's what her duty is. So he's screaming and shouting, and so Mother Yashoda, she comes out of her trance, and she's slowly trying to make sense of what's happening, and she sees Krishna is coming to her, and he's crying, and she's like, oh, what's happening? But she doesn't stop churning. And that makes Krishna even more angry. Stop now, and he jumps on the rod. There's this rod I was explaining, that is with the ropes. He jumps on the rod and holds it so that she cannot continue. And he throws a tantrum. Maybe if you have children, then you know how they can be. And that's the amazing thing. Krishna, he behaves just like an ordinary child, whereas he is still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then she stops churning and she pacifies him. All right, come, I will give you milk. You must be very hungry. You've been sleeping so long, such a long night. Let's feed you a little bit. And she puts him to her breast and starts nursing him. But then she sees on his feet, his pinkish lotus soles of his feet, she sees the signs of Vishnu. And she gets very bewildered. What are these signs? These signs, they only appear on God himself. How can it be? And then she notices there's some milk that drops on Krishna's chest. And she tries to wipe it away. She wipes it away, but there's something staying there. It's the Srivatsa, the sign of Lakshmi that he has on his chest. And she's totally bewildered. How come? How can it be that my son, he's my son? How can it? And at that moment, Yogamaya comes and intervenes, and she just forgets everything. He's just my son. Very sweet boy. But then, by the arrangement of Yogamaya again, something happens. There's a loud sound like this one. And it's coming from the kitchen. She turns around and she sees the milk has been boiling over. She also was boiling milk, and in the absorption of nursing Krishna, she totally forgot about the milk. And so the milk actually boiled over and fell into the flames. And so she immediately reacts quickly, puts Krishna on the floor and tells him, don't worry, I'll be back in a second. I just go and take the milk off the stove. She puts him down and she runs to the kitchen. And Krishna is on the floor and he looks around and he's not happy. My mother puts me down, I just started drinking. She's just teasing me, or what is she doing? And he's becoming really angry. He starts crying, and in his tantrum again, he takes a big stone that he finds and hammers on the pot that is full with yogurt. And he cracks it until it's totally broken. All the yogurt spills over the floor. Meanwhile, Mother Yashoda is in the kitchen, she's tending to the milk. She doesn't hear or see anything, she's so absorbed there. And Krishna, he just takes the yogurt and smears it all over his face, takes as much as he can, and says, yeah, this is good. Wow, this is really good. This is the real love of my mother that has been in here. Wow. And so he takes a lot, but then it's smeared all over the floor. He cannot really take any more. So he decides, okay, mother is still not coming back, so I'll get more. I'm not satisfied yet. So he runs, and he goes to the storage room, which is quite close by. And he opens the storage room, and what he sees is really satisfying him a lot. There's many, many pots there. And there's freshly churned yogurt from yesterday. There's freshly churned butter. Wow, the substance of all nectar. And he dives into them. He climbs on the pots and gets whatever he can. And he cracks some pots and basically creating a huge mess. He smears it all over his face. And the more he takes, the more he realizes that this is like total nectar. What is this? This is not just milk. This is actually, it tastes like Yashoda. It's like his mother, as if he was tasting his mother's love directly. And you maybe have this experience also in a sense that your mother is cooking very nicely. Like we say that, right? That food is best at home. Because your mother, she knows exactly what you like, and she makes it with such a love that it's so tasty. Because that's the main thing. Love goes through the stomach. It's not about the food itself, and you will have a taster of that later on when you have prasadam very soon. At some point though, his hunger is satisfied, and even though he cannot stop tasting the love, he also comes to realize as his hunger comes down, the fear comes up that I'm not supposed to do this. This is not ideal. My mother will not be so happy. And so he thinks, I have to escape. I have to run away from my mother. And he goes out and he thinks, wait. And he goes back and he takes a nice pot of yogurt and then he goes. So on the way, he's happily tasting more and more. And actually, he has to pass his mother. She's still in the kitchen. He has to pass his mother. How can he go by his mother without getting, detected? Well, Yogamaya comes to help. So there's this divine energy of Krishna, the illusionary potency that helps arrange things in such a way that is most conducive for these loving exchanges. So in that situation, Yogamaya just covers Yashoda. Actually, it is described that Yashoda Maya, the mother of Krishna, she was always looking at the pot where she was churning to see if Krishna was still there, and she saw Krishna still standing there. So that's the illusion that were created by Krishna's energies. And so by the help of this energy, he sneaks by Yashoda and goes outside. But he doesn't go so far because there's all the monkeys outside. And so he has this big pot of yogurt. He thinks, yeah, I can share some. Because sharing is caring. So he gives to the monkeys. Very nicely, one hand for you, one hand for you. And the monkeys, they're very, very happy as well. And so it goes. And at some point of time, of course, Yashoda also is finished with cleaning up the mess in the kitchen. So she goes out and sees that actually Krishna is not here anymore. And wow, the whole pot of yogurt is cracked and all the yogurt is on the floor. What has happened? My God, where is Krishna? Somehow she was thinking it might have been Krishna, but my little boy, he doesn't do that. It cannot be him. But then she goes and follows the footsteps that were left in all the yogurt on the floor. And she finds the storage room totally messy and all over smeared with yogurt. And she knows, okay, this must have been Krishna. And so she goes out again to find Krishna. And she looks out of the window and sees downstairs in the open Krishna is there and he's very happily feeding the monkeys. So happily? I don't know. Maybe not so happy actually. He was looking around like, okay, hopefully Mother Yashoda is not coming. She must be coming any minute. So his anxiety was growing as well. And Yashoda, she goes down, and on the way she finds the stick, the famous stick, a very beautiful stick that Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, left there. So he went out for this procession, but he left his very wonderful stick that is ornamented with lots of jewels. And Mother Yashoda thinks, okay, this will teach a lesson to my son. I will never hit him, but I will pretend to. And in this way, he might find his ways. In the meantime, Krishna is outside and his anxiety is steadily growing. And he thinks, okay, there's no chance to escape, What can I do? And he thinks, okay, I know what I do. I will make myself invisible. I'm the greatest of yogis, no problem. I just keep myself invisible, and this way Mother Yashoda will not find me. And so he sits down and he goes into meditation, and he tries, nothing happens. There's some force that is obstructing him. And again, this is Mother Yashoda's love that is bigger than his own power. He gets overpowered by the love of his mother. And so Mother Yashoda, she comes out and she sees Krishna. And Krishna sees her and they lock eyes. And then Krishna runs for his dear life. In great anxiety, he runs away. And Mother Yashoda runs after him, screaming, "Hey, stop, you thief! And rascal, what are you doing? You think you can run away from me?" And Krishna at the same time is thinking, what is she thinking? Who does she think she is? I'm God, and she thinks she can catch me? The greatest of yogis cannot catch me. Why should she be able to catch me? But still, he's very fearful, so he's running. And Yashoda Mai, it's described, no matter how fast she ran, she could never catch up. There was always a one-arm shortage that she could not reach him. And so she's saying, okay, come, I will let you, I will not do anything, just stand still. And Krishna says, no, drop the stick first. I don't believe that you will not do anything. Drop the stick. And Mother Yashoda is hesitant. And then at one point when Krishna looks forward, she says, okay. And she hides her stick behind her back. And she says, okay, I dropped it. And Krishna looks back, and he's just totally bewildered by a beautiful antlitz, how you say, by a beautiful countenance. And he stops still. And Yashoda catches his hand and takes the stick. And Krishna is shocked, "Mother!" And he just starts crying and crying. And actually it is described, a pond of tears appears. So they're standing there, and at some point Yashoda is looking down and she sees there's a whole river almost, Cry Me a River, that's also a song. It's like that, it's full of water, and she's like, what's happening here? How can that be? And at that point, who is this boy? Is he some mystic yogi? At that point, Yogamaya comes, makes everything go away, no more water there. Because, this was a little too much, Krishna, you should be careful. She will detect you. And then she holds him tight. She won't let him leave again. Now he's caught. But how can we teach him a lesson? Well, we should bind him so that he cannot run away again. And then this whole story starts, which is a big, big festival. So she takes the rope that she has in her hair to bind her hair, and she ties it around Damodar's waist. But it just doesn't close. She binds it to a mortar and then around Damodar's waist, and there's 2 fingers short. And no matter how much she pulls, it doesn't work. And then gopis, they have heard all this batter and clamor, so they come around and they see that something's happening, and Yashoda tells her, "Hey, get your rope. I need to bind this rascal." And the gopis, they're very happy. "Yeah, sure, he's really a rascal. He's been stealing so much. Finally he gets his punishment." And they run and they get the ropes, and they bind one rope. Still, they cannot come around his belly. And one more rope, and you can see it there, no? Krishna is saying, no. And Yashoda is very convinced that she will tie him, but doesn't work. And in the meantime, this is happening in the courtyard. The demigods, they're watching on. And they're very astounded. They've been watching this whole Leela, this whole pastime unfold. They see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is running away from Mother Yashoda, and now she wants to bind him. He who is unlimited. If he's God, then how can he be bound? And one demigod explains, we have heard from our creator, Brahma, that actually Krishna is in every atom. And so that means we are also in every atom because we're his energies. And then within that atom, there's Krishna, so there's all the atoms again. So he's ad infinitum. He's in one atom, and because he's Krishna, so then everything is in him. So that means, again, all the atoms are there. So, and again, he's in all the atoms. And ad infinitum. So how can you bind the Supreme Personality of God that is unlimited? It's quite a powerful meditation, no? So if there is a being like God, then he must be omnipotent. That means he has all the powers and he's everywhere, omnipresent as well. And omnibenevolent, right? And we have the triple O God. So that's Krishna. And so he is within every atom, and because he's in every atom, then everything is in him again. And so also us, being a part of Krishna, we're in every atom. And that's, of course, the story that this verse is from, that I spoke today, that when Krishna was eating dirt, right? You know the story also? Krishna was eating dirt, and then his mother came and said, "Hey, why are you eating dirt?" And Krishna says, "I didn't eat dirt." And she says, "Show me your mouth. I know you've been eating dirt." And he says, "Okay." He opens his mouth, and Mother Yashoda looks inside, and what does she see? She sees the whole universe, and then she sees Vrindavan, and then she sees herself. And what does she see? She sees herself looking into Krishna's mouth. And in that mouth, she sees the whole universe, and then Vrindavan, and then herself. And she just gets lost, and she's like, what's this, Who is this personality? And then switch, Yogamaya comes. Oh, he's just my boy. But he didn't eat dirt, it's all good. Anyway, so in this way, Krishna is unlimited. So how can he be bound? And the demigods meditate in this way. At last, Krishna gets bound, as we know, because why? He's conquered by the devotees' efforts. And that's something that is the main meaning also of this month, that by the devotees' endeavors and by Krishna's mercy, by the grace of God, we can actually bind God. God becomes subjugated by this love. And at this point, everything stops. It is described. Whole Gokula is silent. All the gopis, they are totally astounded. They stand there like, what just happened? He actually was bound. And the demigods, they almost fall from the sky, and the whole earth is shaking. And so this is the story of Damodar Lila, and of course there's more to it, but time is also coming to an end. And I just wanted to read this one last thing from this book, which is Krishna's description of what he is thinking, coming back to the God's eye view. Krishna was very pleased once he was bound, and he thought, "I have appeared here in Vraj to let the world know how I am enslaved by the love of pure devotees. I want everyone to know how devotees' prema awakens in me divine characteristics that bewilder even the most learned scholars. I am the eternal desire tree that fulfills everyone's cravings, but without the comforting touch of my mother, I am incomplete. I am satisfied in myself and lack nothing, but when the gopis churn yogurt thinking of me, I become hungry. I am the personification of transcendental goodness, but if my friends taunt me, I become angry. I am the proprietor of all things, but to enjoy the special relish of eating others' butter, I steal. Fear personified fears the slightest movement of my eyebrows, but when my mother raises a stick, I am afraid. Although I cannot be contained within the mind of the accomplished yogis, still my mother catches me. I am the condensed form of transcendental bliss, but when my mother neglects me, I am unhappy. And although I am all-pervading without beginning or end, still my mother has managed to tie me to this mortar. These contradictory characteristics arise when my divinity is confronted with and submits to the love of my devotees. When the demigods see these paradoxes, they become bewildered or sometimes forget that I am their Lord. Indeed, the influence of loving devotion is so powerful that I myself forget my divinity and think that I am the object of my devotees' love. Thus, I become a plaything in the devotees' hands, and I love it. Shishi Yashoda Damodar Ki Jai. So thank you very much for your attention. I wish you a very blissful Kartik, and I wish that you bind Krishna by the ropes of love. And right now we will have Prasadam feast. Maybe some announcements from Ramdas Prabhu.
His Grace, Siksastakam Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much, Siksastakam Prabhu, to give us an insight into the God's mind. So now we know what he likes and how he thinks. And so now the next program is a vegetarian feast. So I think you all become hungry by listening how Krishna was eating. So outside now you can go and satisfy your stomach. And also today, since the month had started, so every evening actually in this temple, we will offer lamps to the Yashoda Damodar and sing the Damodar Ashram prayer. So also today, at around 7:30, we will also do it. So you will have the opportunity to show them ghee lamps. So now I wish you a very happy Prasadam. See you later. Hare Krishna.
Wait.